Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Supporting a Feeling Life. My name is Jonathan.
I'm Yasmin.
Today we want to talk to you about what it means to take responsibility for your words, actions, and mostly your energy.
This is something that we often struggle with because we see people enact things, express things, and set things in motion, and then wonder why it's uncomfortable. And we often don't know what to do with the feelings that we have and the energy that they generate. So it is important to become aware of when you are responsible. We cannot control what others do or say. And that's something that is really very important. We can influence others, and it is important to know how to honour your own feelings and energy, taking care of those. And it's also really important that we don't seek others' permission or approval to know that how we feel is okay, because it is something that you are feeling, and therefore you may need to be quieter. You might need to just be a little more gentle with what you're doing and with how you're expressing and using your energy.
So as Yasmin has said, that we will often feel how other people are, and this can actually be quite demanding on us, depending on our own, what we're looking for, depending on our own sense of extending ourselves into other people's energy and hoping to feel something back from them. And this is where we end up getting in trouble, and we end up adjusting our energy and our words to kind of accommodate the gap. And so there's a couple of lessons that we want to look at in this chat. And, one of them is about the main thing about really taking responsibility, responding to your own energy, and really looking after how you extend yourself into the world. The other one is becoming aware of how you get affected by other people. And as you said, we can't control how other people are, but we see all the time how people take it so personally. And what we want you to sort of consider is that it's really only personal if you've kind of caused it. And that's the part that you need to be willing to take responsibility for. So what does this mean?
Well, there's one exception,
Yeah.
and that is if you are an empath and particularly sensitive to energy, you are going to feel it anyway.
Right.
So it will feel very personal to you, and if someone's unhappy, distressed, you're going to absolutely understand and empathise and in some way absorb that energy, feeling like you should do something about it, that you should make it better.
So what do we do there? Because this is a trap that so many people fall into. They end up feeling like they've got to fix things.
That's right.
Either things they've caused
Yeah.
or things that they're feeling in someone else.
That's right. And it's really important that if you are an empath, if you are very sensitive, that you can do something, you can say something to check in, to find out, is someone okay? Or you may very clearly, intuitively in your awareness, already know what is needed. And it can be fine to take a step, can be fine to take some action that is really supportive and caring for someone without taking it all on. Empaths generally do need to be aware of what they feel, not absorbing, but absolutely just being observant, witnessing, watching, noting, because there's so much information in that moment that you are processing.
I suppose this is the key to this, in that any of these dynamics, whether you've caused the situation and you need to take responsibility for it, whether it is in someone else and you're empathizing with it, it asks you to really be aware of where your center is and where you're referencing your actions from. And of course, ideally, this needs to be the heart. It's when we end up getting in our heads about it all that we can often create quite convoluted and difficult dynamics, because we can then try and influence things according to how we need them to be and how
That's
we
right.
want them to fit. So the question to consider is, how do we know when we're doing this?
It's really important to be aware of what you are feeling. And I think we all know there are times we don't know what to do or say.
Oh, maybe for some people.
And so in those moments, it's kindness, just a word of acknowledgement or care, bringing someone a cup of tea, or just simply reaching out is a simple thing to do. If you notice, however, you don't do anything because you freeze, or you think maybe it's your fault, or you know somewhere in the picture there's you in it, you may feel uncomfortable. So you have to be aware of your discomfort and respond through it, because it's very therapeutic in that regard.
So it asks you to, well, it asks people really to be aware of how they want to sit in their own heart and their own feelings, to use their awareness. And this is going to sort of challenge people to actually look for how they want things to actually be.
That's right. That's absolutely true. I think sometimes in life, in our culture, we hope someone else will make the move. We'll hope that someone else may be able to do it better than us, and so we just sit back and wait. There's always an opportunity to reach forward from the heart. There's always an opportunity to be open, to be acknowledging, to really sit within what the reality is. So it's vital that we are feeling able to care for others. And again, if you're very sensitive or you're processing something, it's vital to be really conscious of what that is and how you see it.
Because as we move as a people, and our consciousness starts to expand, and we start to understand both the power of this heart consciousness, but also the unified field that we're part of, it becomes much more difficult to pretend that we are separate, and we do impact and we do influence each other. And one of the sort of the myths that I'd like to sort of dispel a little bit is this idea that was very popular for some time, which was like, they're your feelings. And it was a push away. It was this kind of idea that whatever's going on for you is your problem.
Or the justification. This is how I feel.
Yeah, this is...
which is a defensive justification.
Absolutely.
Instead of actually, this is what I'm feeling.
And so it becomes this willingness to actually empathise and engage with another, so that you can just check and see whether or not your words, your actions and your energy may have actually had some impact and some bearing, which is actually kind of a courageous act. Because if somebody's upset, if somebody's distressed, and you kind of suspicious that you may have been part of that, then it will ask you to be really heartfeltly honest. And this is not always an easy thing to do, because it means being a little bit vulnerable and more aware of maybe some of the ways that you've expressed yourself or acted that haven't really taken into account how it may impact on someone else. Because our words and our energy are constantly kind of weaving spells into our life.
That's right.
They're sort of weaving the energy, and a relationship is one of the most powerful ways that we learn about this. And I mean, the amount of times you, in your most loving way, have said, it's not what you're saying, darling, it's how you're saying it. Which I'm sure I'm not the only man in the world to have had those words said to me. But I'm also really grateful for them, because what it's done is allowed me to become really aware of the intonation and the tone. I still remember that time I took a phone call from someone I know, and as I felt their energy coming at me, I kind of pulled the phone away and looked at Yasmin and went, is this what I do to you? And she's like, that's it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Because it's often not until we're on the receiving end, because when we're speaking, we're caught in our own words, we're caught in our own energy. And so this is this expansion that's asking us not to run out to try and save people from how they're feeling, but to come from a place that includes them in this more centered, loving space we all carry inside.
And this is important. We are all connected, and we impact each other all the time, sometimes with direct hits, sometimes unconsciously. And it is important to respond, to recognise and acknowledge the awareness that we're having, to notice that feeling of discomfort. But it is also important to realise that even if you don't know what to say, a gesture, an inquiry is important. Not forgetting that actually doing nothing, saying nothing, is also felt or seen.
Absolutely. I was a master at that. It was learning to believe that by just kind of withdrawing into my own shell, I was having less negative impact. But actually, all you create is an absence. You create a space and a gap, which actually is, of course, felt by everyone else.
So it's really important to recognise that none of us can escape from this, because we're all living in the same energy or energy field, the unified field of energy that we all sense and experience. And I understand that often if we're in distress, it isn't easy, it is uncomfortable, and we do fear rejection or reaction. One of the best things we can ever do is just be really true to ourselves, really honest within ourselves, knowing what we're feeling and why, and acting accordingly.
Because ultimately you're wanting there to be a sort of an authentic, what's the word I'm looking for? Alignment. There's an authentic alignment with your words, your thoughts, your emotions and your energy, so that as you bring your energy to the world more and more, you know that it's actually true to who you really are. And we're not going to get this right. We stumble, we fall over, we hurt each other, and we say stupid things sometimes. Well, some of us do. But in all of it, it's this amazing opportunity to actually feel what was out of alignment and make a new choice, make a new plan of how to actually be more true to yourself.
It's actually a really good way of looking after yourself, of your energy and your feelings when you act on things, because we suffer worse when we hold it in, when we try and avoid it, when we don't do anything with it. That's really painful, as much as it might be if we've caused feelings in others.
It's everything in our life actually wants to flow, and when we think we're protecting ourselves by pulling inward, that energy has to go somewhere, and if we energetically are damming it, then it creates a pressure in our being, which starts affecting the way we start thinking about life, the way we start perceiving life, and it stops us from feeling. And I really want to get this clear. This is a feeling that it allows us to have. And now we all experience this sometimes. Maybe, I don't know, we've gone out dancing, we've kind of been laughing at something that we've been watching. There's a sense of joy in life. We're impacted by the sunrise or a beautiful view. Or somebody's love impacts us, and there's a feeling that rushes through our body, that moves through our body. Well, that same energy is available on a daily level. It doesn't have to be something that only happens occasionally, but it asks for a conscious connection and a conscious alignment, which asks us to take responsibility for, without sounding like I'm repeating myself, for how we weave our energy into the world.
Take a moment to feel where you're at in your life, the things that you've done, because we all have an impact on others. It's not always going to be perfect, and we're not always super conscious and aware, but take a moment just to feel where you are. Is there something that you need to do or say? Is there a bridge that you need to cross? Is there something you need to attend to within yourself? If you can be honest with this, if you can feel it, one small step, it's going to change everything for you. And of course it can change a lot for others as well.
But you can't do it in the hope of what it will change for others. This has to be about what you're taking care of inside of yourself, because as we said at the beginning of this talk, we have very little control, although we have influence on others, and it's particularly well influenced when we come from this heart-centered place inside.
Sometimes we might think, well, there's nothing that we can do, we cannot change something. And in this, no, often we cannot, but we can also find a different way to be, which doesn't involve retreating, separating out. And sometimes retreating is important, and we need to do that for a period of time as our awareness of what supports us grows. There's a balance, always.
A proviso is that if you do find yourself responding to this and recognizing that you want to look after the energy, past words, past actions that may have had an impact on others, and you want to take responsibility for them, because even if they're of the past, it's still your energy to care for. Be aware that what it can do in your open emotional vulnerability, it can actually give someone else permission to actually start talking about how something is for them, which can actually kind of create a sort of a re-wounding But that's part of the healing. It's the willingness to stand there and hear and feel how something may have impacted someone else and what it then brings up in them. If it's not about you, then that's something else to be clear about too, because obviously if somebody starts, taking your honest conversation as permission to then unload 25 years of suppressed feelings, then you might want to just stand to the side and let it pass on by. But still feel good about the fact that you're looking after your energy and you are being integral and authentic in how you make your words and your actions and your energy align with who you really are.
We feel each other all the time.
Yes, we
Whether
do.
we're saying something or not, we're feeling our energy.
Sorry, I went in a whole different head space then, darling.
You never know where these conversations are going to go.
No, not with me.
I've lost track of that.
We feel each other all the time, and that does not mean that I'm groping my wife constantly.
Oh. Wow.
Okay. So this is why we have fun in our relationship. I have to take responsibility for my words. Okay, so we feel each other all the time. Energetically, we feel each other all the time.
I had a really important message in that.
Oh, it's still going to be there. Just you'll find it again.
We notice, even if we're unaware, we're noticing energy. We're feeling the energy. There's someone else is in themselves that can impact on us. It's also really important to recognise that when we are aware of ourselves, we notice what is ours and what is not more clearly. Be aware of all you're feeling and your contribution to it, because you can make a difference.
And often it's these very simple differences which make the big differences. We are so often overwhelmed, those of us who are sensitive and empathetic, with what is happening in the world and for others, that we can feel a loss of empowerment, a loss of sense of what we can contribute to. This is a direct way that you can make a real difference, and that is simply by feeling this connection of taking responsibility for your words, your feelings and your actions.
And if you're unsure around others' energy, particularly if there's an energy that you're unsure what to say or how to navigate, do it anyway, because you're going to go beyond your own limitations. You're going to actually help yourself to heal and grow.
So, until we get to chat with you again, we hope that these words help you stay true and stay connected to yourself.
Until next time, be well.